Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me watching this video, wherever you're tuning in from, to go over some ways to prepare for the career fairs that we host here on UMD's campus. My name is Laurel Street. I am a graduate assistant at the University Career Center. I work specifically in our career education and exposure team, doing some of these educational components for everyone. So like I said, today we're going to get into how we can be best prepared so we can be our best selves and really set ourselves up for success when it comes to the career fair, because they can be intriguing new spaces for us. And so some of the stuff that we're going to get into today is the details, right? What does a career fair look like here at UMD? We host lots of different career fairs, right? And they each come with their own specific vibe, their own specific things, right? But today we're just going to speak very, very broad and very general about what you should be expecting. We're going to talk a little bit about the pre-work. So what we need to do to prepare for the fair. There's a couple of steps that we highly, highly recommend that you do before you attend a career fair, just so again, you're best set up for success and you're feeling confident going into that room. Once you get to a career fair, right, there's a lot of questions of like, how do I do this? I feel prepared, but I don't really know what to expect. Maybe there's an unfamiliarity with networking. So just dropping some tips for that. And then we'll wrap up today with talking about how do we continue connections after the career fair, recognizing that career fair is a stepping stone in a much larger picture and journey for us. And so how do we keep those connections built throughout our time here? And so what to expect. First, let's talk a little bit about what a career fair even is. So a career fair is an opportunity to bring both employers and students together, right? So we are connecting, we're recognizing that both employers want to employ UMD students, right? And that students want those experiential learning components, right? And so bringing that together really happens in this space. It's also an opportunity for you to practice your networking skills, right? Career fairs have an explicit purpose, right? Its explicit purpose is hiring for internships. It's to generate interest about a field or a specific company or organization. And so what you have then is not necessarily a controlled environment, but an environment where it is everyone's job there to talk to you. And it is acceptable to talk and brag about yourself a little bit, right? To show curiosity about a job or an internship, right? That's why everyone is there. And so it really takes some of the guesswork out that can make us feel uncomfortable when it comes to networking. What you should expect is lots of signs to help direct you on where to go, where check-in's going to be, where the employers are, as well as maps, right? So oftentimes we will have maps that have employer booths listed, right? You can see a list of things. So for more visual individuals, really having a layout of where to go and what to expect. There will be a place for you to check in typically and get your name tag. Again, all fairs look a little bit different, but there's going to be a space for you to get a name tag and to check in. And so we'll talk later about staying plugged in and making sure we know what to expect. But in general, you're also going to see employer booths, and employer booths are going to look very similar to this picture over here on the screen, right? There's going to be a table, there's going to be swag items on the table, there's going to be pens, stress balls, water bottles. We've seen all kinds of things placed on those tables. And then there's also going to be a small team of individuals, like anywhere from like 2 to 4, I would say, who are employees of that company or organization, representatives of that organization. And again, their job is there to talk to you about the opportunities at their specific organization or company. And so you'll expect that as well. Lastly, you're going to see University Career Center staff. So individuals like myself will have name tags on. We will be there in the halls, in various places in the buildings, at the check-in table to really sit there and answer your questions. That's what we're there for. We're the ones who set it up usually, and so usually we can help navigate you or answer any questions that you might have about the day. And so one thing I do want to note, right? Again, we're speaking in generals here. And so, there are specifics to each fair and we want to stay connected. And one thing is registration. For bigger fairs, there usually is not a registration, right? So when I say bigger fairs, I mean like our fall or spring career fairs that are multiple days, right? But you will see registration for some fairs. So again, staying plugged in, knowing what that fair is expecting, just because again, registration is not to make your life more complicated. It's to help us provide a great experience for everyone. And so when we talk about staying connected, right, the University Career Center hosts and sponsors department-specific career fairs and job meetups, right? There's a lot going on. And we have a lot going on because there's a lot of you, right? And we want to make sure we're providing specific information and specific opportunities for everyone, right? And then also those broader things as well. And so if you scan this QR code, you can pause the video and scan it. I will also try to remember to link everything in the description box at the end so you can go to these links specifically. But this one is going to take you to our calendar of events. I really recommend that you bookmark that, ear tag it somehow so you can kind of stay in loop about what events we're hosting because we do things outside of career fairs as well. And so just really staying in contact so you know what's going on campus. So then all of the doors of opportunity are kind of open to you. We have pre-work, so there are things that you need to do just to make sure that we're intentionally engaging with employers when we're research and we're doing our planning. We're going to talk about developing a game plan, right? So we're really, again, going into the career fair being prepared. And so what that looks like is we're going to go to Handshake. If you have yet to open your Handshake account, I really recommend that. It's pretty essential at this point because it's a massive help when looking at different employers, when looking at events. And this is really going to help you do your research. And I'm going to come back to this. I want to actually go to Handshake and show everyone what I'm talking about so we can get that visual on record here. But I want to point out to the next slide just because we're going to connect some pieces here. And so this next slide is how we stay organized, right? So we're gonna go to Handshake. We're gonna do this research that I'm gonna show you in a second, and then we want that research to be organized. Again, this is helping us stay prepared. If you scan this QR code, it's going to take you to a copy you can make of this exact spreadsheet. This is just an Excel spreadsheet. It's nothing fancy. If you're a pen and paper person, definitely feel free to do this on pen and paper. Whatever way helps you organize your thoughts is going to be best here. And so what this does is we're going to look at company and organization, right? We want to write down that name. We want to write down, is it an internship? Is it a job title? Is it a marketing intern? Is it a part-time job, right? So writing down the information of the thing you will be applying for. The posting URL, right? Fair contact name, right? So as we go through the fair, we want to be able to get contacts. So we want name, email. This email is really important because a lot of times you're going to get either from a website, like a question forum, or a really like general, just general question asking email inbox, right? And you're going to get lost in the shuffle a little bit, or you can get lost in the shuffle. And so by having a specific contact that you met at the career fair, you're building that personal connection, and you're also going to know that there's someone there, right? That this is an email that someone gave you. There's a little bit of stakes there. And so that really helps to build that relationship. Application deadlines. And then this is the part that is really, I think, beneficial for when you're trying to organize your thoughts after the career fair. So why you're interested or internshipping at a job or a place. So, you know, why is this interesting? Is it because it's happening in the summer? Is it because it's remote or hybrid? Is it because of the certain skills that you're wanting to learn out of it? This will also help you articulate once you get to the fair why you're talking to that person, right? You might get asked a question like, why did you come see us today? Right? And you've got your answer already laid out on your spreadsheet that you've already taken the time to look into them a little bit. It's going to help you stand out, right? It's going to help you stand out in memory with the different employers that you talk about. And that's true as well for why you're interested in the company or organization, right? Are they a campus partner? Are they nationally ranked? You know, do they have any awards or publications that are just really interesting to you? Do they work with a specific population? We'll get into that with the example that I'll show you here in a couple of moments. And then also experiences the employer might like. So again, this is keeping you organized both before the fair and during the fair and after the fair, right? So it's really worth it to continue to do this process because when you're talking to that person at that employer booth, they're going to say, or you're going to ask the question of like, hey, what are you looking for in an intern? They're going to say, you know, we'd really like someone who has those intro level skills, know a little bit about Python, but also like really want to work on a team. And you can jot that note down here. And then when you go to do your resume or cover letter, you can note that you have experiences with Python, that you've taken intro level courses, and maybe you have an experience where you worked on a team, on like a group project in a class, right? And so you're showcasing the specific things that they told you they're looking for, right? It increases your chances. And what it does is it, again, makes you stand out, and it takes guesswork out of it, right? There's so many times when we apply to something and we just don't even know what's being asked, right? We don't really know where we are in the lineup, what they're looking for, right? And so asking the source, having a chance to ask the actual person who might be looking over your resume is a really great opportunity that not everyone gets. So it's definitely one that I recommend you do and stay very organized with. And so I want to go back now that we've kind of talked about the information that you should be looking for when you're going on Handshake and researching employers. I want to go back. I actually want to show you guys how we're going to do that. So I'm going to exit this PowerPoint. I'm going to go over to Handshake, right? Your Handshake, when you first load it, should look something like this. We're going to go over to this Events tab. Eventually, my computer will, will load. And then Handshake makes it nice and easy. There's career fairs at my school, right? Should be right at the top here. And then you're going to see all of these different things that I was talking about, right? We have on-campus job meetups. Maybe you're an environmental person. You want to look at environmental career internship fairs. Maybe you're just really intrigued by performing arts and you kind of are interested in maybe going into that, right? We have a fair for you as well. And so again, this is why it's so important to have a Handshake, because you can see all of this information live occurring, right? And I can flag it. Right, I can flag it, and then that's going to save that information for me, continue to feed my feed the algorithm of Handshake, right? And so let's just take a look at the spring career and internship fair, right? This is when I said quote unquote big fair, right? This is kind of something that I was talking about. And so there's lots of information here, right? Click the join event, event time, location, right? All of these things that are really good for us to look. But right now, what we want to look at is employers. So we're going to go over here to this all employers tab. And here's where you're going to see in alphabetical order every employer that we have listed for this career fair. And so instead of scrolling for endless hours, what we're going to do is we're going to go over here and we're going to start to narrow some stuff down. So, maybe I want an internship. And I want it to be full-time, right? I want it to be a full-time internship. I'm looking at a specific industry. I'm an environmental science major, but I don't have a ton of experience. So I don't know, maybe I'm gonna view all and see if I can find anything environmental, right? Okay, so environmental services. Let's see what that yields. So we're gonna do that, right? And this has resulted in two different things. Land care, I don't know that I'm like that interested, right? But I really want to work in Maryland. Like I want to work super local. And I want to do something that is like community based. So maybe I'm going to look in here, right? Right. We can see some details right here. Details about the company. They have a bunch of different projects located in 3 states. So that's interesting. Maybe if I want an out-of-state experience, expert engineering, monitoring. So like, okay, this is interesting. Job types, they have internships, major groups, right? So you can see if your major's on here, environmental management. But let's say I'm a human resources like marketing person, but I'm really interested in environmental science. Like I'm really interested in what's going on with the climate and things like that. And so, maybe this is something I want to look into. Again, spend some time looking at the employers that are going to be here. Know that it has the day that they're going to be here. So they're going to be here on Wednesday from 11 to 4, right? So I'm going to put that in my handy dandy spreadsheet that I just showed you, right? I'm going to put that they're here Wednesday, February 21st. And then let's go to their website. Let's see what they say, right? So we want to do some digging. We want to do some sleuthing here because again, we want to be able to articulate why we are specifically going to this employer booth, right? So, okay, they've got this experience, let's go to their About Us page. Let's see. Okay, their mission, to provide operational and technical services, protect and enhance the environment for the benefit of the people of Maryland. Okay, you can ask yourself, like, does that align with something that I want to do in the future? I said I'm a marketing person. All companies need marketing people, right? Most of them need someone to do the marketing. So most of the time there's going to be like a careers tab. And so we can go to the careers tab. There's lots of things, but you can see on this left-hand side, they have internship opportunities. And so they give some things, right? There's 20 positions available, summer internship program, right? So that aligns with what I'm looking for. Okay, don't miss out, apply now. And then there's more details, right? So, oh, cool, I could work remote. So I could still maybe have a summer vacation, right? I could still maybe travel somewhere this summer and work this. It's got pay. So this is a paid internship. And then we see an application deadline, right? And this website is really great because they're showing you all of the general internship opportunities. So, right, I said I was a marketing person. Cool. They need a marketing intern, right? And then this gives me a little bit of information. So again, I would just copy and paste this into my spreadsheet. I'm going to have that information there. Let's go back to that spreadsheet. Let's take a look at it, right? So I would say in my spreadsheet, okay, so the application deadline is February 29th. I'm interested because it's summer, it's paid, it cares about the environment, and I get to do my marketing stuff. Why I'm interested in the company or organization, it's local, and then that they have like a really great website and a really great mission, right? The mission aligns with your values. And then that experience, right, you'll get to when we get to the fair. And so that's what I'm talking about when I say do your research and do your research and stay organized with it. Again, this is about setting yourself up for success. So when you get to the career fair, you know what you're talking about, right? You know what you're talking about and you know what you're looking for. And that conveys a lot about a person. It conveys that you're organized. It conveys that you like to do research, that you're curious, right? You took the time to look into this. It just says something about you as a person when you take some of these initiatives. And right on that curiosity component, we want to lead with questions because there's going to be question asking when you go to the career fair. And so we want to lead with questions that are based on research. Again, we want to know what we're talking about. It's really hard to come up with a question when you don't know the company or you don't know the people or you don't know their focus, right? Or you're asking just very general questions that aren't actually getting at the information you need. And then you might walk away from that interaction thinking like, I didn't really get anything out of that, right? So how can we maximize the time that we do have with employers because there's several other students there as well. And so questions you can ask are like, what skills and capacities do you hope an intern would learn as a result of this experience, right? They might say, we hope an intern learns to work by themselves. And you might say, oh, that's not really what I'm looking for, right? And so you're going to make a note of that, right? Doesn't totally rule them out. We want to have an open mind, right? But it does like say something about the experience that you might have. You can ask, what's a typical day like in this internship, right? If they say it's remote, what does a remote experience as an intern look like? Are you just going to be on Zoom meetings? Is that something you want to do, right? So again, just making sure that our expectations are in alignment and you're hearing directly from the source. I think that's the most important part about networking and being at a career fair. And then you might want to ask, what's the best consideration date? So we saw that deadline was February 29th. You can ask, is that best consideration? Will you continue to take applications after that? Just kind of knowing what the odds are or what you're looking into, again, can be a super helpful aspect of this. And so write down these questions, have some questions ready. That is, perfectly acceptable to look at your notepad or whatever and ask some questions. Also, sometimes just writing it down helps us remember the questions that we want to ask. And so now that you've done a little bit of research, it's time to go into your resume, right? And so having the right tools prepared. So if you're looking at a string of employer booths that, are in similar fields, right? You're going to have very similar things to put on your resume. It's going to be kind of this master resume in a way. Some general resume tips that I want you to follow when you're thinking about creating your resume for the career fair is to have it be one page in length. It's really easy to keep track of it if it's one page. We start getting to 2 pages and things are getting a little lost. It's harder for employers to keep track of it. That one page makes it the most readable and the most accessible. 10 to 12 point font, again, we don't want anything smaller than a 10 point. It's going to get really, really hard to read. And a 12 point, if you get any bigger than that, you're not really maximizing the space on the page anymore. It looks too large, right? Keeping those normal margins, 1/2 inch to 1 inch, right? We don't want our words to be falling off the sides of the paper, but we also don't want to see little tiny narrow words as well. We want to be taking up as much of that page as we can while still having it look nice and clean. For first or second year students here, you can have your high school education. Afterwards, definitely consider removing that. And that's just because you're going to start gaining so many experiences here in undergrad that it's gonna start going past 1 page, right? When we're looking at like, gosh, what do I take out? I don't know what to take out. It's usually that high school education piece. If you had an experience in high school that is incredibly relevant, let's say you took an AP course in cybersecurity and you got to do a research paper on industry trends with cybersecurity, let's say, right? Let's say your high school is really stellar. That is probably something that you're going to want to keep if you're going into cybersecurity research, right? So you need to be the master of your story in that way. But we do recommend thinking about the more relevant and more recent experiences you've had. Make sure your experiences are in reverse chronological order. Again, this helps with showcasing the most relevant and recent things that you've done. Making sure your resume is visually clean. So we've talked about the margins and the font. Just making sure things are really consistent, right? I want to see dots on that right-hand side. I want to see bolding in consistent places. I want to see a nice contact information, right? This sample on the side of the page here is really something that we're looking at. And I will tell you where you can find it here in a second. And then lastly, just avoid a ton of white space, right? So we don't want only like a 1/2 page resume, really taking up that full page. And then also avoid templates. It's really common to try to use a template because resumes can be hard to start in the first place. But the thing about templates is oftentimes they're very flashy or they will be flagged by different systems. And so we just want it to be clean. I know it looks simple, but really what makes a resume stand out is the quality of the information in it, not necessarily all the time how it appears, right? It doesn't need to be the flashiest thing. It needs to have good experiences and consistency and be visually appealing in terms of it's easy to read. When it comes to highlighting your experiences, right, this is a key component of making sure that quality is there. And so for each experience, I want you to think about the who method. So the who is what you did, how you did it, and what the outcome or impact or result of that was. So the what you did is what were your responsibilities? What were the things that you had to do in this position? The how you did it is what knowledge or skills or abilities or programming did you use to complete that task? And then the objective or the impact, right, is telling me what did that do either for the organization? Did you create a paper? Did you have to present it to a research panelist? Did you create, did you analyze data using a certain software and then create a PowerPoint presentation in order to share that information with a leadership team? Right? So in that example that I just gave, I said what I did, right? I analyzed data. I said how I did it by using a specific software program, right? Maybe I worked on a team too. So I can say, I use a software program alongside a team of 5 individuals. And then the outcome was that I took that information, I synthesized it, I put it all together so it's understandable, and then I provided that information to our leadership team, right? And so that gives you a very clear picture of something that I did in this role and what I learned in regards to that. And so please, please, please save your brain. Resumes can be a lot of work and they're not everyone's favorite thing. We at the University Career Center recognize that. And so we have lots of samples for you on our website. This QR code is going to take you there. Again, pause the video. Feel free to scan that real quick. I will include the link in the description. But this will give you these 2 images that you're seeing on the page here are a sample that we have on the website. And so it gives you lots of ideas for formatting, for section titles, for how you should maybe word certain things like a personal project, your skills, your education, right? So they're just really good starting places and they're clean. They're visually clean. They're downloadable PDFs that you can copy. And so moving on from that, there's all this prep work, and you're probably thinking like, well, what do I bring with me? I've done all of this. Like, what do I actually need to bring? Here's your checklist. Okay. You need a small notepad or a notebook, something to write in, and a writing utensil, right? So, again, we've talked about taking notes, jotting down the things that were said, maybe ranking, right? Any system that's going to help you stay organized, because the day is going to fly by. Those hours that you spend in the career fair, or 30 minutes, however much time you spend, it's going to fly. And so you're gonna forget certain things that happen. And so you need something to write down the ideas and the thoughts and the information you get. You're going to want to bring multiple copies of your resume. So it is likely that someone's going to ask for your resume. You're going to want to give them your resume, right? Again, this is a very specific objective that we're here at career fairs, right? We're here to share our information about ourselves in regards to a job or internship. And so you're going to want to have multiple copies of your resume. Put on your list that you need an open attitude. I think the most successful students have an air of openness about them, that they're curious, they want to be there, and they're open to a range of ideas, right? They're open to maybe an organization they weren't looking at before. Or, you might have the shining star, the shining pupil that you want to work for, but don't overlook someone that you talked to in the beginning, right? Keep a really open mind for what you may be looking for. If you vibe with one person, right, keep that open mind that maybe that's what you want to do, right? Maybe it wasn't the internship you were intentionally looking for at the beginning of the day, but it's the one where you felt really comfortable with the people. And then you're going to want to bring anything else you need to feel confident, right? For me, I'm not happy to be around when I'm hungry. So I like to bring some snacks, right? I like to have a little granola bar army. Please don't eat while you're actively talking to someone, but feel free to bring some of that. Bring water, right? Bring a water bottle. Also, mints, please don't bring gum. Again, we don't want a lot of chewing and smacking of our mouths when we're trying to talk to someone. But mints are totally acceptable if you feel like you just need to freshen up. Again, whatever's going to help you feel like your most confident self. Just keeping in mind, what that might say if you're chewing gum during a meeting with someone. And so now that you've done all of this prep work, right, and you've really taken the time to think of some good questions, to research who's going to be there, you have a game plan, right? You're going to this booth on Wednesday and you're going to this one right after it, right? So thinking about some of those things, it's time to go. But what do you wear is a really common question that we get. So that's what I want to start with in this section. We don't want to be grinchy. We don't want to be grouchy at the career fair. And so here are a couple of tips that I think we can talk about in order to avoid a moment like this where you think you're going to wear one thing and then it doesn't look right and then you don't know what to wear. There's also just a lot of breaking down of barriers when it comes to professional dress and what we should wear to things like this. And so when thinking about what you should wear, I think a really good mindset to have is inspired by this quote of thinking that style is a way we communicate something about us, right? And it's a way of communicating with no words. So we talk about nonverbals, um, and the things that you choose to wear can say something about you. And so it's a way of communicating without ever saying a syllable. And so really thinking about that when you're getting dressed for a career fair. I think it's a lot simpler to think about what not to do than what you should do, right? Because there's a lot of options out there. And I don't know everyone, and so I can't make personalized style recommendations, unfortunately. But something that we don't want to do is we don't want to do the athletic wear, right? So leave the leggings, the sweatpants, the hoodies. I know the matching sweatsuits are super cute, but leave them at home. Today is not the day necessarily, right? Maybe after, if you want to change into something, totally okay. I know that sometimes the lines are a little blurred, right? So if it looks professional, like a nice, like stretchy golf pant, that can be something that works. But really, taking that time to assess, is this something that I would wear to the gym or something that I would wear to an interview, right? Ditch any kind of sensory nightmare, right? The day of the career fair is probably not time for a wool sweater, right? Or something that's going to make you really hot. If you know that turtlenecks like make you feel constricted around your neck area, probably don't put one on, right? Like today is not the day. And along those lines, like be sensible. In that, like, if you've never worn heels, a career fair day is probably not the first time you want to wear them, right? now's not the time. Now's not the time to necessarily take the most like style risk you've ever taken in your life, right? Because we want to feel comfortable, we want to feel confident. And so, just be sensible. If it's cold outside, dress in layers. If you get cold easily inside, bring a sweater or something. Having some layers on can be really helpful. And just keeping in mind that, again, if I constantly have to like pull up my top, or I'm wearing a one shoulder and it keeps falling, right? Like if you have to keep messing with your clothes, it takes away from your ability to be present in that moment, right? And so just being sensible about the things that you're wearing. Business casual is what you'll hear across as the standard. That can mean a lot of different things to people, right? But and if you want to wear a full suit, wear a full suit. That's totally okay. So if you feel like you just have no idea what business casual even looks like, my go-tos are Pinterest. I love looking things up in Pinterest. I definitely recommend that to anyone just to get some ideas. Again, don't go out and buy a new pantsuit. There's no need for that. Likely you have something that you can wear, right? And it's going to be something that you're comfortable in. Again, I want to emphasize that comfortability and that confidence that comes with something good that you're wearing. You can also look at the University Career Center Instagram. We have a whole story dedicated to career fairs where you can see live footage of people who have attended them, right? And so you can kind of get an idea of what people have typically worn to this event before. And now I just want to talk a little bit about networking, right? So you're there, you're wearing the great outfit, you feel confident, you feel good because you've taken out all of those variables that might cause you anxiety, right? You know who you're looking for, you know how to talk about yourself. That's something we're going to get into now, is what we call the 30-second pitch, right? So 30-second pitch, also called the elevator pitch. It's just a short professional introduction. You want to talk about your degree, when you're graduating, what year of school you're in, what you've done or been involved in that kind of relates, right? Any clubs, organizations, volunteer activities, experiences, why you're qualified for the position or industry. Again, your degree type will usually articulate this. If you have any special interest or passions, right? Like I'm really passionate about making education accessible, right? And so that's something that makes me qualified because I really care about the thing, which shows a level of investment, right? Again, if you have any skills or talents, right? If you're going into something that's program language heavy, right? Mentioning that you know those programming languages. And then what your projected future is. So what that career path is down the line and how this organization or company is going to help you there. Again, these people are here because they recognize that like they want young talent, and they want young talent that has aspirations that they can help move forward, right? And so articulating how they fit in the piece of the puzzle that you're working on, right? And these 30-second pitches, they help you connect the dots, right? They help connect the dots for employers. So, employers, when they first meet a student, they're looking at a connect the dot page that has no numbers. And so they're kind of just connecting the dots, and the picture is probably not going to come out the way that you would have the picture come out, right? And so what you're doing is you're giving them the numbers. You're saying, this is how you connect 1 to 2 to 2 to 3, right? This is how that you connect the dots to create the picture of who I am as a working individual, right? And by doing this, you're showing confidence, you're showing enthusiasm, because again, these are people who are doing the things that you hopefully want to do, right? Because you've done that research, you've looked into it. And so you can feel confident knowing that, like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about because I've looked into your company, right? Can just show a lot of knowledge and enthusiasm. And so what something like this looks like is, hey, I'm Penny, I'm a sophomore, I'm majoring in psychology, I'm hoping to work in human resources, and I noticed you have a human resource internship posted on Handshake. Right now I'm working at Macy's as a sales associate, and I'm really hoping to be on the corporate side of that. And so can you tell me just a little bit more about your human resources internship? Right? And so what I'm doing there is I'm saying that, like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm interested in. And I'm drawing those connections, right? Because human resources and sales associate is not a one-to-one comparison, right? Being a sales associate can equip you to be human resources. It can equip you to sell a product. It can equip you to work with families, right? There's a lot that a sales associate can give you. And so drawing that connection specifically to human resources, because that's what this company or organization is doing right now. That's the position they have open, right? And then again, asking me, that question of, can you tell me a little bit more about this? Getting that information again from the source, right? So we can tell that this is a student who really took the time to prep and look into things. If you feel like you don't have that related experience or you're having issues connecting that dots, you can always point out a moment where things started to click for you, right? I attended a career panel that focused on human resources and I realized like this is something I'm interested in. Or I went to an author talk about nonfiction creative writing and I found it really cool. I would love to like understand more how I do this, right? So understanding where the passion is coming from, again, connecting the dots to something an employer doesn't know about you. They likely don't know that you went to that career panel, but now they know that you're invested, that you've done some work, right? And that this is something you really want to do. Some additional tips that are just going to help you have the right mindset, boost your confidence. Just get there early. A lot of time check-in lines, if there is a check-in, it can get really long and it can form before the door opens, right? So if you can try to get there early, just thinking about the timing. I know some people are in classes, right? So just doing your best. Also just communicating sometimes with individuals like, hey, I really need to get this internship. I might be 30 minutes late to class or something like that. Look at your game plan. So again, we've talked about being organized several times in this presentation. Look at that plan. Don't do all that work and then like leave it behind the day of. You owe it to yourself to look at the game plan that you created, right? And wandering around can make the fair feel really overwhelming, very overwhelming. And so when you have a game plan in mind, right, you're focused, you're honed in, you have your sights set, and that can be really helpful to, again, boost that confidence. Don't start with the top employer, right? A good recommendation is, start with someone who you're feeling a little more comfortable with. Um, you're a human being and you're going to make mistakes. You're probably going to talk too fast or mix your words together or something like that. I'm sure I've done it in this presentation and I didn't even realize, right? And so recognizing that you're going to make those mistakes and trying to get warmed up beforehand, right? So if you're really excited to talk to someone, let's test the grounds a little bit. Let's get warmed up before we try to shoot off to the races, right? And recognize that the employers are humans too, right? That they also are going to be warming up and they're going to be trying to figure it out as well and how to talk to people. So just recognizing each other's humanity a little bit is going to go a long way to make you feel comfortable in this moment. Travel independently. It's really, really great that you want to come to the career fair with all of your friends. We totally encourage that. But at the same time, when you have a school of fish all swimming together, none of the individual fishes stand out, right? That's kind of the point of why they do that. That's why they swim like that. But when it comes to a career fair, you want to stand out as a candidate, right? That's the whole point of doing the research. So again, you owe it to yourself to break off from your friends and talk to different employers. And you can rendezvous in the middle, or you can text a friend and say, hey, I just had a bad interaction. I need a hype man real quick. That's totally okay. When you're going from booth to booth, travel as an independent person, it's going to go a long way. And then be courteous when an employer gives you something, right? Just a general rule of thumb. You never know who talks to each other or who can overhear you. So just be nice, just take it, just indulge them for a little bit. And then I really like the thinking of this image here of something like the career fair. I'm not gonna lie to you, it can be a little scary. It sometimes can be really big, and there's a lot of people sometimes, and that can be big and that can be scary. But when we think of something like the open ocean, there's so much room to play, right? There's so much more room to grow and explore. And so really take this again with an open mind as a challenge to say that I can do hard things and I'm going to do this because it's opening doors for me and not everyone gets an opportunity to do something like this. And so with that in mind, again, you want your research to pay off. So keep getting a business card at every table you go to. If they don't have a business card, just writing down their contact information. Again, we don't want to submit an email to a random Q&A section on a website, right? We want to talk to a person. We want to email a person. So just getting that information is going to save you a ton of hassle. Take time to, don't necessarily take notes while they're talking, right? We want to be engaged face to face, but afterwards, pull off to the side of the room and just jot down your notes. Like I said, I had a smiley face system, right? So using your little system, whatever works for you. If you need stickers that day to put stars on, whatever you need, just pull off to the side of the room, do that real quick, and then move on to your next person. Also will help you just like take a little bit of a breath, right? Take a little bit of a breath between everyone. Notice that you're doing a good job, that you've got an employer down, and you're going to go get the next one, right? And then keep an open mind. I think I've said this several times, right? Someone who you maybe thought was sitting lower at the end of your list might jump up to spot number one, right? Because you had a good vibe, you had a good conversation, right? So just being really open-minded. You never really know what this day is going to bring you, right? We can be so prepared and expect so much, but again, you're meeting with another person and sometimes they're going to knock it out of the park, right? And you're going to be super excited. And so just having a really open mind and recognizing that this is part of a process, right? It doesn't end just after today. And it's recognizing that this is the day that you plant the seed and later on is when you eat the fruit, right? And so you did it, right? You've done your day at the career fair and there's like one last thing to do. And then I promise I'm done talking to you guys. Write a thank you note. Please, please, please write a thank you note. Do it within 48 hours of the event, right? Set a reminder on your phone if you need it. And this is where your notes kind of come in handy, right? So we recommend like 3 specific takeaways if you can, just to avoid sending that really generic thank you note. So something like, hey, I really appreciated what you had to say about the research project that I did. It really meant a lot to me. I appreciate your time and your energy. Thank you so much. You know, something like that, or saying, hey, you mentioned this, this industry trend. Do you have any resources on that? Right. So again, just making it specific. Again, we'll kind of jog the memory of the employer as well. Like, oh yeah, I do remember that student with that really cool research project. Like, oh my God, I remember them now. And you start putting name to faces a little more easily. Because again, they're meeting everyone too. It's a big day for everyone. And then include any potential next steps. So if they told you, hey, you should check out this article on AI use in your field, in that thank you note, say, thank you so much for the article recommendation. I read it. That's so intriguing. I would love to meet on Zoom to talk more, right? I'm building that connection. I'm keeping the dialogue going. If they tell you to, submit an application for an internship, you can say, actually, I'm going to show you this example because that's kind of a good example of this, of saying, hey, you encouraged me to apply to the posting on Handshake. I wanted to follow up and let you know that I did submit my application. Maybe there wasn't a spot for a resume and cover letter on that application. So I'm emailing you my resume and cover letter as well. I would love to speak about this opportunity some more. Right. So again, we're opening the door for further conversation. So then you're not forgotten in the shuffle, right? You're solidifying a little bit in the memory of the person that you talked to, and you're keeping that relationship open because you never know what relationships are going to bring down the line. And so that is everything that I have for you guys, from what to expect to preparing to afterwards. I really hope that this was useful information for everyone. Again, please, please, please check out the calendar of events. You can QR code scan this again. Check the description box for those links. And then please follow us on social media. We don't want your follows just so we can have an increased like count or more followers. It's really because there's some good information on there. Again, there's a whole Instagram story dedicated to career fairs, so definitely check that out. We also do so many other great things at the University Career Center, and so I just really recommend seeing what we have to offer and taking advantage of some of that. And then we also do a bi-weekly newsletter, so you can sign up for that newsletter here if you're more of an email newsletter type person. But thank you guys all again, and I hope everyone has a great day at their career fair.